Hey, welcome back, Rankers. You know how I promised you last week that we're going to do a webinar on Google Shopping? Well, much to the surprise of Courtney out there in the office, yes, we are. We're doing it on the 19th of March at, is that 19th? Yes, 19th of March at 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Summer Time. So we're going to teach you how to set up your Google Shopping, how to go in and check it, tweak it, those sorts of things. In case you don't know what it's about, go and have a look at last week's show, but this will give you some idea. So last week, this number here was about 42,000. Today, it's nearly 52,000. And since last week, we've spent $600. So basically, we're spending $100 on Google, and we're getting $1,500 back. Pretty good, really. I'll just refresh that, just make sure that hasn't changed since we've been sitting here. No, it looks like it's about the same. But literally, you can refresh that during the day and you can see it go up. It's quite good. I quite enjoy it. Right. So don't miss out on the webinar. March 19, it's going to be a big one because if a lot of retailers are going to be jumping in on that. And speaking of retailers and e-commerce systems, I touched a little bit on them last week. And we've still got a couple of clients on Business Catalyst. I'm going to bring you a full show about Business Catalyst. Look, I don't like to just come out and bag other people's work. It's not constructive. I like to focus on, hey, here's a good thing, not, hey, here's a bad thing. But I am going to delve a little bit more deeply into Business Catalyst because we've got a few clients that are on it, and Adobe's a big company which makes Business Catalyst, and I'd just like to highlight a few things that we've been trying to highlight to them, but we can't. We're not getting much of a response. They've got forums and things, and in one of the forums that we were looking at for Business Catalyst, because we have some duplication issues with one of our clients with Business Catalyst, someone had posted that duplication doesn't matter. There is no such thing as duplicate content penalty. Don't worry about it. Not entirely true. And although Google may say you may read whatever you want about from the Google mouthpiece, from the Google blogs, from whoever, and they might say, oh no, don't worry about internal duplicate content too much. You may have even read that somewhere from Google. Ignore it. Go on experience. Go on your gut. Go on what you think is a good experience for the user as well. And I'll give you an example. Last year, we had a bit of a look at the digital photography school blog. Darren Rouse, pro blogger, right? All of you know him. You love him. Love his work. Generous chap. And has a big site. Massive site. And one of the issues that Darren was having when we caught up on Views, Blokes and Business was that newer content, latest content, just wasn't appearing in Google quickly. It wasn't getting indexed quickly. The reason for that, as I identified it, was that the whole site was duplicated out of subdomain, staging.digitalphotographyschool.com, with the hyphens, obviously. And we cleaned that up, and subsequently that whole staging site disappeared from Google. So 120,000 pages gone from Google, which is what we wanted. And when that happened, these stories, as they're posted now, and this one was posted a few hours ago, and I just quickly went and Googled that title, bang, it's number one. As it should be, as soon as it's indexed. The problem that he was having is that it wasn't getting indexed quickly enough. And subsequently, that's meant an uptick in the traffic. So if we go and have a look at the traffic, I won't show you too many of the details, but you can see here, this is when we started working on it, around here. And we started working with the developers and saying, look, we've got to shut down this other site. And as soon as we did, and this is a year-on-year comparison. So you can see back here, it's pretty much level pegging for November. And then when we started looking at it around early December, you can see we start to pull away. And that works out to about a 10% increase. Now you might say, oh, 10% is not much. But when you're talking about, 50,000 odd page views, or 50,000 odd sessions per day, just from Google Organic, that's a lot of sessions during the month, and a lot of page views during the month. 10% is a lot. I just, a bit of spit just went in front of the camera. I hope that didn't get picked up. Anyway, I think I've hidden it quite well. So, duplication matters in a huge way, and we see it all the time, which is why why I get so annoyed with e-commerce systems where they say, oh, yeah, no, you can't do that. You have to have that piece of content not only on every product page, but also on every category page. So if you are selecting an e-commerce system, as I said last week, select wisely and have a good, long think about what it means for SEO. I'm going to bring you a show purely on, we might just go and review each e-commerce system for SEO, but certainly duplication does matter. And even just little things, silly things. I was talking to a client yesterday when they were updating a product. Some products were getting appended with .html and some weren't, and so we had the same products available via 2 URLs, and the system, it did the canonical tag but didn't do it well. Anyway, avoid duplication at all costs because it's messy, right? It's not a great experience for the user. And anything that's not a great experience for the user, that's what you have to avoid. Okay, you don't have to go and try to learn Google's tips and tricks and all these sorts of things. You just need to be thinking about the new user. That same client yesterday, I was saying, he was saying, well, look, I don't think anyone's going to read the content. I don't think anyone's going to read a blog. It's like, well, then the content isn't good enough. Or then you're in the wrong business. Because think of it this way. If you're in a shop, and I used to work in retail about 100 years ago, and back then, you know, we had the kerosene lamps and all that sort of stuff. Back then, you used to strike up a conversation with the customer, and the customer would be asking about the product, and you'd tell them. You know, your bad salespeople would just go through all the features. But other people would talk about the benefits of the product or what the product does, and here's an interesting story about the product or how it was used. That's sort of the same thing that you've got to be doing for your business and content now on your site. It's about becoming the authority, right? And the content is so important. But if you duplicate that content on your site or anywhere else, then it becomes confusing to the user. Hang on, which page was I on? So Google doesn't want to send people to sites that are confusing or sites where the piece of content is at 50 other different sites. What's going to happen, forget about penalties, which page should Google rank? If you were Google and you had to choose between 10 pages of the exact same piece of content, which one would you rank, or would you just go, you know what, too hard, I'm going to go and rank this one over here instead? So that's what duplication does to a site. Avoid it at all costs, and there is stark evidence of it working once you get rid of the duplication. And that is it for this week's show. Don't forget the webinar, March 19, 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Summertime, and we'll learn all about Google Shopping and make a few dollars. We'll see you next week. Thanks very much. Bye.